They say you should never trust your neighbors too much. I learned that lesson the hard way. The night my wife drank poison meant for me. But here's the twist. She's the one who put it there. My name is Asher, and up until 6 months ago, I thought I had it all figured out. I'm what you'd call comfortable. I own shares in multiple companies across 3 continents, but my pride and joy is my majority stake in an internet banking firm that operates in Africa and Asia. The kind of money that lets you sleep easy at night. The kind that makes you a target, too. But I'm getting ahead of myself. 2 years ago, I married Elena. God, she was beautiful. Still is, I suppose. Though I can't look at her the same way anymore. She had this way of lighting up a room, you know? Dark hair that caught the light just right. A smile that made you forget whatever you were worried about. Everyone said we were perfect together. We lived in Bellevue, Washington, one of those upscale suburban neighborhoods where every house looks like it was designed for a magazine cover. Manicured lawns, Teslas in every driveway. The kind of place where people wave at each other but don't really know each other. It was late autumn when everything started to unravel. November specifically. The trees were already bare, and there was this constant chill in the air, the kind that makes you want to stay inside, fire going, glass of wine in hand. That's when Marcus moved in next door. I remember the day clearly. A moving truck pulled up on a Saturday morning, and this guy stepped out. Tall, athletic build, the kind of confident swagger that immediately put me on edge. But I brushed it off. I'm not the jealous type, or at least I wasn't. "Hey, neighbor," he called out when he saw me checking the mail. "Marcus, just moving in." "Asher," I said, shaking his hand. Firm grip. Too firm, maybe. "Welcome to the neighborhood." Elena came out a few minutes later with lemonade, because that's what she did. She was thoughtful like that, always the perfect hostess. "Oh, how sweet," Marcus said, and I swear, something passed between them. Just a flicker, a moment of recognition that lasted half a second too long. Marcus became a fixture in our lives. He'd come over for barbecues. We'd have drinks on Friday nights. Elena always insisted we invite him because he's new to the area and doesn't know anyone. I thought I was being a good neighbor, a good husband, supporting my wife's kindness. I was being an idiot. It started with small things. Things you'd dismiss if you weren't paying attention. Elena's phone, face down on the counter. Always. Every single time. Her suddenly taking up jogging at 6 a.m. when she'd never been a morning person in her life. "I just want to get healthier," she'd say, kissing my cheek before heading out in her new running gear. And Marcus? He'd started jogging too. Same time, same route, apparently. Then there were the late-night texts. I'd wake up at 2 a.m. to use the bathroom, and the glow of her phone would light up her face. She'd quickly lock it when she noticed I was awake. "Just scrolling Instagram," she'd whisper. "Go back to sleep." But Instagram doesn't make you smile like that. Not at 2 a.m. I'm not a paranoid man. I built my wealth by trusting my instincts, by seeing patterns where others see coincidences. And every instinct I had was screaming that something was wrong. So I did what any man in my position would do. I started paying attention. I noticed that every time I had to fly out for business, Elena seemed lighter, happier. She'd wave goodbye at the airport with a brightness in her eyes I hadn't seen in months. One Thursday in early April, I told her I had to fly to Lagos for an emergency board meeting. "Oh, that's okay, honey," she said, too quickly. Don't worry about me. I'll be fine. I went to the airport, checked in, went through security, and then I came right back home. I parked 2 blocks away and walked back to the house. It was almost noon. I let myself in quietly through the side door, the one that leads through the garage. The house was empty, but Elena's car was in the driveway. I checked the ring footage on my phone. There she was, 10:47 a.m., leaving through the front door. She walked directly to Marcus's house. Didn't even look around to see if anyone was watching. She didn't come back for 3 hours. That's when I knew for certain. But I needed proof. Real proof. Not just doorbell footage and suspicious behavior. I installed a GPS tracker on her car, one of those discreet magnetic ones you stick under the wheel well. I hired a private investigator, a man named Derek, recommended by a business associate who'd been through a messy divorce. Don't worry, Derek told me over coffee in downtown Seattle. If something's going on, I'll find it. It took him less than a week. The photos were exactly what you'd expect. Elena and Marcus at a cafe in Kirkland, holding hands across the table. Elena and Marcus at a hotel in Redmond, the Marriott on 156th, entering at 2 p.m. on a Tuesday, leaving at 5. Timestamps, angles, meticulous, clear. Derek handed me a manila envelope across the table at our second meeting. "I'm sorry, man," he said, and I could tell he meant it. "There's more if you need it, but this is pretty definitive." I didn't open the envelope right away. I sat in my car in that parking lot for 20 minutes, just staring at it. Part of me wanted to storm home, confront them both, burn it all down. But another part of me, the part that built a financial empire from nothing, knew that rage makes you stupid. Rage makes you sloppy. So I waited. I watched. I documented everything. That's when I started noticing something else. It was a Saturday in late April when Marcus invited us over for dinner. "Hey, Asher," he called over the fence while I was taking out the trash. "I'm doing this dinner thing next Friday night. Nothing fancy, just some steaks and good wine. You and Elena should come over." I looked at him, really looked at him. He had this easy smile, this casual confidence. Like he wasn't sleeping with my wife, like he hadn't been lying to my face for months. "Sure," I said. "Sounds great." Elena was thrilled when I told her. "Oh, that's so nice of him," she said, her eyes lighting up. "Marcus is such a good neighbor. We should bring something. Maybe that wine you brought back from South Africa." The wine I brought back from a business trip that I'd been saving for a special occasion. She wanted to bring it to her lover's house. "Yeah," I said. "Sure. That sounds perfect." That week, I noticed something strange. Elena and Marcus were careful. Too careful. They stopped texting as much. At least, her phone wasn't lighting up at night anymore. The morning jogs became less frequent. It was like they were trying to act normal. And that scared me more than the affair itself. People don't suddenly get careful unless they have something bigger to hide. I started paying attention to other things, little things. Elena asked me about my life insurance policy. "Just curious," she said one night over dinner. "How much is it again?" $2 million, I told her, watching her face. "Why?" "Oh, no reason," she said. "I was just talking to Sarah from the book club, and she mentioned hers, and I realized I didn't actually know the details of ours." She smiled, took a sip of wine, changed the subject. But I saw it, just for a second. A look passed across her face. Calculation. Planning. That's when I started to suspect this was about more than just an affair. I called Derek again. "I need you to look into Marcus," I said. "Everything. Background, financials, criminal history, everything." Derek called me back 3 days later. "Your guy's got nothing," he said. "Clean record, steady job as a software consultant, pays his bills on time. But here's the interesting part. He filed for bankruptcy 7 years ago, lost everything in a bad investment. He's rebuilt since then, but he's not exactly swimming in money. So Marcus needed money. Elena wanted to be with Marcus. And I was worth a hell of a lot more dead than divorced. The math wasn't complicated. I started making preparations. I backed up every file on every device in the house to a secure cloud server. I made copies of all our financial documents. I even wrote a sealed letter to my lawyer, outlining my suspicions, with instructions to open it if anything happened to me. And then I waited for Friday night. Friday evening arrived with unseasonably warm weather. The sun was setting late, almost 8 p.m., casting this golden light over the neighborhood. Elena spent 2 hours getting ready. "I just want to look nice," she said when I commented on it. "Is that a crime?" "Of course not," I said, adjusting my collar in the mirror. "You look beautiful." And she did. Navy blue dress, the one I'd bought her for our anniversary. Hair done perfectly, makeup just right. She was dressed up for him. We walked over to Marcus's house at 7:30. Elena carried the wine I'd brought from South Africa, the bottle I'd been saving. Marcus answered the door in dark jeans and a fitted button-down. "Hey, come in, come in." His house smelled incredible. Garlic, herbs, something rich and savory cooking in the kitchen. "I hope you're hungry," he said, leading us through to the dining room. I went a little overboard. The table was set beautifully. Candles, nice dishes, 3 place settings arranged in a triangle, 3 wine glasses. I made note of which glass was placed at which seat. "This is lovely, Marcus," Elena said, her voice warm. Warmer than it had been with me in months. "Only the best for my favorite neighbors," Marcus replied, disappearing into the kitchen. Elena and I sat down. She was across from me. Marcus's seat was at the head of the table. He came back with a bottle of red wine, something expensive looking, Italian label. "This is a 2015 Barolo," he said, pouring carefully into each glass. "Been saving it for a special occasion." He filled Elena's glass first, then mine, then his own. I watched every movement, every pour, but I didn't see anything suspicious. No powder, no dropper, no sleight of hand, which meant it was already in the glass. My glass, specifically. Marcus raised his wine. To good neighbors and good friends. Elena raised hers immediately. I raised mine slowly, watching them both. We clinked glasses. Elena took a sip. Marcus took a sip. I brought the glass to my lips and pretended to drink. Barely let the wine touch my mouth. Set the glass back down. "Wow," I said. "That's incredible." "Right?" Marcus grinned. "Worth every penny." He disappeared back into the kitchen to get the first course. Some kind of caprese salad with balsamic reduction. Elena leaned across the table slightly. "You okay?" she whispered. "You seem tense." "Just tired," I said. "Long week." She nodded, took another sip of her wine. We made small talk. Neighborhood gossip. Marcus's job. My latest business trip. All very normal. All very friendly. And all I could think about was the wine glass in front of me. Marcus brought out the steaks about 20 minutes later. Perfectly cooked. Medium rare. Roasted vegetables and garlic mashed potatoes. "This looks amazing," Elena said. "I do try," Marcus said with false modesty. We started eating. The food really was excellent. We talked more. Sports, politics, movies. Normal dinner conversation. I was waiting, watching. My wine glass was still mostly full. And then, suddenly, chaos. We heard it before we saw it. Sirens. Getting louder. Closer. Multiple police cars, the sound building from a distant wail to a deafening scream. Marcus stood up. What the hell? The sirens were right outside now. And then we heard it. The screech of tires, the crunch of metal, the explosive sound of a car crashing. Oh my God, Elena said, standing up. We all rushed to the front door. Marcus threw it open, and we ran outside. 2 blocks down, we could see it. A police chase that ended with a stolen sedan crashed through the Hendersons' fence. Police cars everywhere. Officers with guns drawn. Someone being pulled from the wreckage. Half the neighborhood was already outside, watching. Holy shit, Marcus breathed. We stood there for maybe 5 minutes, watching the scene unfold. The suspect handcuffed. Ambulance arriving. The Hendersons standing in their yard, looking shell-shocked. We should probably get back, Elena said eventually. Our food's getting cold. We walked back inside. I was the last one through the door. When we got back to the dining room, something felt off. The wine glasses had been moved, not much, just slightly. Like someone had bumped the table, but they definitely shifted. Elena sat down in her original seat. So did Marcus. I sat down in mine, but I wasn't sure anymore. Which glass had been which? Well, that was exciting, Marcus said with a nervous laugh, picking up his fork. We continued eating. The steaks were still warm enough. Still delicious. Elena reached for her wine glass, the one in front of her seat, and took a long drink. God, I needed that, she said. That was intense. She took another sip, and another. Marcus was watching her with this strange expression. Not quite panic, not quite concern, something in between. Elena, he said slowly. Which glass is that? What? She looked down at it. My glass. Why? Are you sure? Of course I'm. She stopped, looked at the table, at the 3 glasses. Wait, I thought. And that's when I saw it. Her hand started shaking. Just slightly at first, then more. I don't feel good, she said. Elena, I stood up. What's wrong? My hands. The glass slipped from her fingers. Red wine splashing across the white tablecloth. Marcus had gone pale, completely white. No, he whispered. No, no, no. Elena tried to stand. Her legs gave out. She collapsed back into the chair, her whole body starting to tremble. Call 911, I shouted, pulling out my phone. Elena, stay with me. Her eyes were wide, terrified, confused. Asher, I can't feel my legs. Marcus just stood there, frozen, staring at her like he'd seen a ghost. I was already dialing, already telling the operator we needed an ambulance, giving the address, describing symptoms, but even as I did it, even as Elena's body went rigid, then horrifyingly slack, even as Marcus finally snapped out of it and started trying to help, I understood exactly what had happened. She drank from the wrong glass. She drank the poison meant for me. The ambulance arrived in 4 minutes. Felt like hours. They loaded Elena onto a stretcher, her body unresponsive, her eyes still open, but unfocused. I rode with her, holding her hand, the one that couldn't squeeze back. Marcus tried to follow, but I stopped him. Stay here, I said, my voice dead calm. The police will want to talk to you. He looked at me, and I saw it then. Complete understanding. Complete terror. He knew that I knew. At the hospital, doctors worked on Elena for hours. I sat in the waiting room, numb, watching the clock tick by. A detective arrived around midnight. Detective Sarah Chen, Homicide Division. Mr. Asher, she said, sitting down next to me. I need to ask you some questions about tonight. Of course, I said. Your neighbor, Marcus Reeves, he's been very cooperative. He's told us some interesting things. Has he? He says the wine was poisoned. Says it was meant for you. Says your wife was involved in the planning. I looked at her. Didn't say anything. He's trying to make a deal, Detective Chen continued. Says he'll testify against your wife in exchange for a reduced sentence. Says the whole thing was her idea. Of course he is. Thing is, the detective said, we found some interesting evidence at his house. Text messages between him and your wife. Very detailed planning. Photos on his phone. Surveillance photos of you. Your schedule. Your routines. She paused, watching my face. You don't seem surprised. I'm not, I said quietly. You knew. I suspected. Why didn't you come to us? Because, I said, meeting her eyes, I didn't know they were planning to kill me. I just knew about the affair. That's not a crime. She studied me for a long moment. You're either the luckiest man alive or the smartest, she finally said. Can't decide which. Maybe both. Elena survived, if you can call it that. The poison, some kind of nerve agent, Marcus had obtained through channels. The police are still investigating. Didn't kill her. The dose wasn't quite high enough. Or maybe she didn't drink enough. Or maybe she just got lucky. But it destroyed her nervous system. Paralyzed her from the neck down, permanently. She's aware. She can think, can see, can hear, can speak. Though even that is difficult now. But she can't move. Can't feed herself. Can't do anything without complete assistance. Marcus was arrested that night. He tried to blame everything on Elena, but the evidence was overwhelming. Text messages, financial records showing he'd paid $15,000 to some dark web contact for the poison. A detailed plan they'd written together about how they'd comfort my family and friends after the tragic accidental death, how they'd wait a respectful amount of time, how they'd eventually end up together, how they'd live off my money. He was sentenced to 25 years for attempted murder and conspiracy. Elena's trial was complicated. Her defense team argued she couldn't be imprisoned in her condition, that it would be cruel and unusual punishment. The prosecutor, Jennifer Walsh, a woman who reminded me of Detective Chen, argued that disability doesn't exempt you from justice. She planned to murder her husband for money, Walsh said during closing arguments. She participated fully in a conspiracy that resulted in her own catastrophic injury. The fact that the plan backfired doesn't absolve her of guilt. The jury agreed. Elena was sentenced to 15 years in a prison medical facility. Designed for inmates with severe disabilities, she'll serve every day of it unable to move, unable to care for herself, unable to do anything but think about what she did. Some people might call that poetic justice. I call it karma. It's been 2 years since that dinner. I still live in the same house in Bellevue. Marcus's place next door sold 6 months ago to a nice retired couple with a golden retriever. I visit Elena once a month. Don't ask me why. Maybe it's guilt. Maybe it's curiosity. Maybe I just need to see it with my own eyes. The consequences of betrayal. She can't say much. Her speech is slurred. Difficult. But last time I visited, she managed to get out a few words. I'm sorry. I looked at her, this woman I'd loved, who'd loved me once. Maybe, before greed and old flames and stupid plans took over. I know, I said. And I left. I've thought a lot about that night. about the moment the glasses got switched, about chaos theory, butterfly effects, and how one small distraction, a police chase 2 blocks away, changed everything. If that suspect had turned left instead of right, if he'd crashed somewhere else, if we'd stayed at the table, I'd be dead. Elena would be free. Marcus would be rich. Instead, I'm alive. Marcus is in prison. And Elena is living in a nightmare of her own making. People ask me if I feel guilty, if I blame myself somehow for not seeing it sooner, for not stopping it before it went so far. The answer is no. I didn't put poison in that glass. I didn't plan to murder anyone. I didn't betray the person who trusted me most. They did that. All I did was survive. And sometimes, survival is the best revenge.